Oh,
Yeah.
I think we
Uh-oh.
lost him. Oh no,
Oh, shit.
this is not good. The
Oh,
captain
no.
went down. That's not good.
Yeah.
Dick drops the hammer. It looks like he's coming on him, Richard. How about I say, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Back in black, I hit the sack.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Bottom Dead Center show here on the OSMT YouTube channel. And mothers, earmuffs on your kids. Holy shit, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Krimmel is back with us for the first time here on Bottom Dead Center this year, and we couldn't be happier. Frank, welcome back,
Yeah.
man. How the hell are you?
Good. Trust me, guys. It wasn't by choice. It was just, as you guys know, in the monster truck business, it's chaotic, and there's not you don't have much control over some of the things you have to do, and that's kind of all it was. But trust me, I wanted to be here, but it was just the monster truck gods would not allow it.
No, we totally understand. That's why a non-professional like me holds down this show as the anchor. So that way guys like you are out there still doing your thing, and then we drag you into this while we can. But Matt Looker, good to see you again this evening as well. So Frank, where are you calling to us from? And Matt, where are you calling to us from this evening?
Well, I am in Moyac, North Carolina. We're getting ready to head to St. Charles, Missouri this weekend, and then Lincoln, Nebraska after that. And then we come back, and then we have a couple weeks off, Thanksgiving and all that. And then December 14th weekend, we head to Rosenberg, Texas. Yeah.
Gotcha. What about you, Looker? Where are you at?
Well, I was over at my place out in the sticks in the woods, but we tried to do an episode from there one time, and the service doesn't quite work. So I'm back at my parents in Albany. The service
For all you longtime listeners, for all you longtime listeners and watchers of Bottom Dead Center, that episode with Looker where he was in the woods, that was the whole log cabin motif with all the sharp, murderous looking implements hanging on the wall behind him. It was that episode.
Exactly.
It was the Halloween episode from March. That's awesome. Well, I'm just doing my thing here in Southeast Wyoming, getting ready to welcome the inevitable arrival of winter here. We've already had some snow flurries a couple times, and there's usually frost on the windshield of the truck when I walk out in the morning. So that means it's time to hate life for the next few months, or at least until we can pop out in January or February, start going to some monster truck shows. But anyways, yeah, Frank, no, we get it, man. You were telling us before we jumped on the show when we were warming up, you've been on the road like 15 weeks in a row for the Hot Wheels Monster Truck Live Tour. And of course, here on BDC, we typically record on Sunday or Monday nights, which we know can be super tough on the road. Tonight, it's Monday, November 3rd that we're recording on, but 15, 16 weeks in a row on the road, Frank, and then you had a weekend off, and I assume you just slept through that whole weekend. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I did. No, I got of course, in monster trucks, you get a weekend off and you travel. That's what I did. I went to Florida to visit some friends and had a good time. And but now we're back to the grind, man. We're going to be rolling for these next 2 weeks, and then off a little bit and then get ready for 2026. I can't believe I'm saying get ready for
Just,
2026
working on
because
your
to me it's like
beach body and
2025 just started.
stuff down
So
there.
I don't know.
All right, so we've documented that Frank was tearing it up on the Hot Wheels tour and working on his beach bod for a weekend off down in Florida.
Yep.
But Frank, just kind of, before we touch on some of the subjects, and this is a super informal bottom dead center this week. We're just hanging out. We're catching up with our buddy. I mean, Matt and I haven't even hardly gotten to talk to Frank over the last several weeks. So Frank, what was it like out there on that run of shows? I mean, I don't care what anybody wants to say about what they think the performance level of the Hot Wheels tour is or what it needs to be or, none of that shit. So that's not what we're talking about. Running a monster truck 3 or 4 times a weekend undoubtedly puts wear and tear on man and machine. So, kind of run it down for us. What have you been up to out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. I mean, the trucks have been running very well. We put a new motor in Bone Shaker, and that thing's been running like a top. I've done some preventive maintenance on mine, and it's been great. I mean, both trucks are running strong and have been really, really dependable. I mean, that goes out to DJ Bolts and James Calhoun that are, that are with me on the road. It's like without those guys, the trucks wouldn't be that way. But, also Steve Sims, not being afraid to, whatever we need, we get. And we just try to keep the trucks running at the peak level and just try to stay ahead of them. And you, Kyle, you guys both know you just got to stay ahead of them because there's no monster truck is ever 100%. So you always know there's little things here and there that you got to keep an eye on. But then when you get the time, you take care of those. But no, it's been good. I mean, it's obviously grueling and long, but it's been fun. We got a great group of people on that tour that I'm on with the Hot Wheels tour. It's the Holmans and Eric Steinberg and Cody Smith. I mean, it's a great group of people. So it makes. If it makes sense, it makes 16 weeks seem like not 16 weeks,
Definitely. Gotcha. So, Matt, you're kind of just like me. You're settled in for the fall and heading into the winter, but, kind of looking at the horizon. Do you have anything coming up in first quarter? We're going to see you back out at the toughest shows, or what do you kind of have lining up?
Yeah, definitely going to do 1 or 2 toughest shows. I like to keep the winter kind of slow because I do a lot during the summer. Not a lot comparatively with monster trucks. I do a full-time summer tour, but then I also work at home. So it ends up being a long summer, which I'm not complaining about by any means. It's a good time. But yeah, probably 1 or 2 toughest shows. Hopefully going to make it out to your neck of the woods, Kyle. Going to see if Manson can have that weekend where he can use me. And
that's what I was just about to say. Paging Brian Manson, we need Matt Looker in Casper, Wyoming, and Loveland, Colorado next year.
Usually I do the Youngstown show because I can drive to that one. It's only about 8 hours, which I don't mind the drive. So, yeah, a couple shows first quarter. Going to just kind of lay low here at home till then, monster truck wise.
I guess we'll just have to work on our computer drawings of our smoke and shakers idea that we want to have Eric Stern's company prototype for us. I don't know if you saw our interview with Eric last week, Frank, but, with his company doing all that, super high level rapid prototyping and things that they do, we decided we want to bring back smoke and shakers, but they all just break. So we're looking for like the lead foot that the wheel falls off, or maybe the wild stang that the rear tie rod scatters every time a child plays with it, and things along those lines we think would be kind of fun.
Oh yeah, I had the Intimidator one. That thing was sweet.
Those were cool. The real ones were cool. I don't know about our idea, but
the
anyways, let's.
The limited edition
go ahead,
one
Matt.
will be the Andy Slifko that has a cigarette that smokes. That'll be the limited edition run. The Eradicator with Andy at the cab.
Yeah, very limited
so
run there.
If it's not too soon.
God damn it!
God damn it.
God damn it! God damn it!
God damn it.
God damn it! God damn it!
Yeah, I figured there'd be one person losing connection here. It'd be me, not him.
I know. Well, is he back? I see a green. There he is.
What the fuck just happened? God damn it. Oh, it's your turn next, Liquor. Son of a bitch. Chrome shut down. I have no idea why.
I love that.
All right. Well, fuck it. Anyways, yeah, probably a good thing I cut myself off not going into too much more detail about Slifco's smoke and flame and playset. Real functioning trailer brake fire.
Oh,
Like got a little water filled extinguisher you can put it out with.
comes with a half charged body on eradicator. Yeah.
Yep. A body so charged you'll never want to replace it. Okay, we're back from our bad idea brainstorming session there. So far, 2/3 of us have had technical issues, Frank and myself. So Matt's, whatever you're doing in Albany, it seems to be working, Matt. It's not working in Cheyenne. And Frank, what is your region called? Like the Outer Banks? Is that what
yeah,
your
Outer
area
Banks.
is kind of
The Outer
referred to?
Banks, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I've seen lots of soccer moms with those stickers on the back of their
Oh, yeah,
SUVs and
OBX,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of OBX stickers, and then there's like a little dinosaur monster truck sticker next to it. So
So,
it kind of
yes.
goes, but
Oh, yeah.
I got my stones crushed on the Outer Banks, right? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know what that means, but you can tell we're pretty laid back here tonight. I'm like barely awake myself, honestly. If I sound like shit, I'm sorry. A little congested with all the weather changes we're having out here, but Frank, let's get serious for a minute before we move on too much further, because I know we got a lot of lighthearted stuff coming, but we weren't able to have you on with us, of course, after the horrible news of Dan Runty's untimely passing came down to us, a couple months ago. And, we want to stay positive about this. Of course, we're not trying to get ourselves all worked up and sad again. But I know, just like myself, you were around Dan a ton through your career in monster trucks. And I know you thought a lot of him, as a young man watching him come up as a racer, while we were fans. So I was just kind of wondering if you had a couple Dan Runty, memories or stories you might want to share with us that, we would have liked to have had you a part of for that episode.
Well, it's kind of funny because, my experiences with Dan started all the way back when I was helping Scott Stevens. So that was in not just me, but I think there's a whole generation of people out there that was Bigfoot, like Dan Runte, Eric Meager, Eric Tack, Andy Brass. That was the Bigfoot you grew up on. That was Bigfoot you knew as a kid and as a teenager growing up. So when we heard about Dan, it was just a terrible thing because he was involved in you guys know, and I'm sure a lot of the general public knows, but he was a part of a lot of things moving forward in monster trucks and a lot of the development of the Bigfoot operation once his driving days were over. And during his driving days, he was a huge part of that operation and still was. And he was a big part of helping Hot Wheels get to where they are. Dan was just influential in so many aspects. I can't even begin to start. I mean, it was just a shame when we heard that news. It was something like you hope it's a bad dream. You wake up and it didn't happen, but it did. And but the Bigfoot guys are carrying on. They had a rough go, and it's still rough, but that's a tough organization, man. They've been through it all, and this is just one more thing they're gonna power through, and I'm sure the Bigfoot operation, the trucks will just continue to be better and grow. But all that is because of Dan and everybody there. Has a little bit of Runte in them because you have no choice but to have that in you. Because there's stuff I do in the truck that I stole from Dan because I saw Dan do it. And I'm like, oh, that worked. It was cool. And those guys in the shop and running the trucks up and down the road, they're the same way. They were in touch with Dan every day and updated them every day on the trucks and how things were going. And he helped helped a bunch of new people get involved. So can't say enough about Dan Runte, man. Just a shame, but I'll never forget Dan Runte. I know a lot of good memories in the early 90s, early mid 90s, and getting into 2000, just as a fan, just watching him and all the different Bigfoot names and IPs that they ran, the Power Wheels, Chrome Illusion, all the stuff they did, man. But Runte was a part of all of it. So it's a tough deal, but he's definitely left his mark on the monster truck industry. I don't even know what else to say.
Excuse me. I think you encapsulated it, beautifully there. And I think a lot of folks don't always see or realize the contributions he made to that organization, in the wake of his driving career starting to run down. And he was kind of a natural, excuse me again, kind of a natural person to take over the throne from like those hybrid guys there that had done both the road and the shop side of things, like a Jim Kramer or, the Hoosiers, through their different times with the team, or Brian Berletti, or, any of those guys that spent time of some sort behind a wheel or whatever. And Dan was just incredible at so much of that stuff. And like you said, he helped usher in, new generations of drivers and trucks and things like that. And there's just no way you can quantify his contributions. And then, of course, we learned about the tragic passing not too long after of John Peterson, who had been, not just an engine and transmission guy at Bigfoot, but just a huge part of the, mechanical, reliability of Bigfoot trucks for, decades, and crew chief for Dan at some of his biggest, outdoor events over his career. And then, our friend of the show, Gene Patterson, learning about his health battles that, he's hopefully, doing really well, continuing to recover from. So when you said that's a tough organization, they've been through a lot, you're so correct on that. And, whatever you want to say about this or that on track or business or any of that stuff, like you said, at the end of the day, it's a really tough organization. It's been around, 50 years, going on to 51 here pretty soon. And, we all certainly wish the best for everybody there and see some continued growth from them. And, just keeping, the legacy of people like Dan and Lurch and John and all those guys, keeping those legacies alive, is going to be really important for them to keep doing, and I'm sure they will. So, moving along from that a little bit, Frank, rolling into a couple topics we touched on in previous BDC episodes. Rosemont, 1990. Matt and I broke down the controversial 1990 World Finals from Rosemont, and holy cow, man, we had your favorite truck out there slinging some mud, four-wheel crazy. Somewhat surprisingly, didn't go very late into the rounds at that show, but one thing that stands out to me about that show I wanted to ask you about is that run between Taurus and Barefoot, where Jack Sr. pretty much mows down the starter standing on a piece of plywood in the middle of the mud pit. It's easy to laugh about now, but just kind of wondering what your impressions were of that particular incident and the event as a whole.
Well, to me, that's kind of the era where the trucks really started outgrowing the kind of tracks they were running. Like the trucks were getting so far advanced to where they were going way too fast for what they were doing, and having the mud pit in the middle didn't help. And then you got a guy standing in the middle, the starter. Crazy. They got so lucky on that. It could have been way worse. I mean, like you said, we can laugh at it now, but man, it could have been way worse. And imagine just the stain on the monster truck industry if that would have gone just a little bit worse. But it didn't. And but it's kind of funny too. You bring that up about Taurus and Bigfoot. That was Taurus Racer, and that was Bigfoot 4, wasn't it? That he was racing.
Yes.
Yes, you're correct. That was my mistake.
That's even crazier because you had Bigfoot 4, who had already lived a ridiculous life, and now it's pushed into this next generation of monster truck, which it really wasn't. And they're hanging in there with Taurus, which is the next level, and which is basically the baseline for what we know as Maximum Destruction and Monster Patrol and all that. So it's like, to see that happen, look back at now, then you didn't think about it. But now when you look back at it and see what a gap there was between those two trucks, and then to see how good that race was, and that building, though, historic. I mean, it rose, Allstate Arena, Rosemont Horizon, whatever you want to call it, just an historic building. Every time I walk in there, just like with every other building I go to, I try to remember timestamps from like 91, 92, 88, 89 of different places and say, oh, that's over there is where Bigfoot did the first stoppie, like in Worcester, that kind of stuff. I think about all that everywhere I go. And that Rosemont, though, is one of those two you walk in and you can just feel it when you walk in. You walk down that tunnel and then back up it. And it's just got an old school feel to it. And it's like, that's where monster trucks, that building is monster trucks. There's a bunch of them out there, but that one really stands out.
I would argue there's not enough, broadcast quality stuff from that building either. Like, there needed to be more TV shows produced there, I feel like, because as small as that place looked, I mean, never mind the gentleman, thankfully not getting run over in the mud pit, but I mean, that night alone had so much drama to it. There had, there had to have been other nights that had, massive drama like that happening as well. And I mean, Matt and I were having quite the laugh at the interview that Brett Kepner's trying to conduct with, Jack Sr. After I think it was the first round, right, Matt? Like, I think somebody kind of laid down in qualifying a little bit because they needed an early run against Barefoot to knock him out. And Fred was pissed, and he's firing the truck up, completing his run, driving past Kepner. And man, Brett is shooting him. I call it the spicy Italian, just like that angry look, like, really? I'm trying to announce right here. That's a kind of non-manufacturer organic drama that I feel like we just don't see anywhere in monster trucks today. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I hardly feel like we see anything like that now.
Right, and Matt, like you'll probably agree with me on this. That stuff back then. That was real. The guys were serious. Like you get into the Penda stuff, and Fred Schaefer having all the Velcro canvas stuff covering his, suspension and transmission. Those guys were into it. And Eric Meager told me before that Fred, the Bigfoot guys, would just put things on their truck just to get Fred to wonder what it is, and it actually had no function. Like there's things they would do just and cover it up and put a little box around it just to get Fred wondering, because Fred was super competitive, and when I was a kid I didn't really pay attention to it, but now the older I get, some of the stories I hear from some of the old school guys, man, Fred Schaefer was serious business back in the day, and Jack Willman too, especially after their split. That was a heated rivalry.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I've heard stories of that as well too, from the Penda days where, the Foot guys or somebody else maybe was, maybe Gary Porter's name was thrown around in a humorous story.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna bolt this thing on and cover it up and see what Fred says about it. Like stuff like that. And I mean, that's that old pro stock mentality. I mean, I don't want to speak out of school here, but I've definitely heard, legendary tales of, Fred Schaefer maybe bending, twisting, or perhaps even breaking some rules at more than one drag strip over his days, being a pro stock racer and things like that. So I'm not saying he was cheating in monster trucks. I'm just saying he was, what's the term they use on the Dale Jr. download? He was an innovator.
Yes.
He had innovative ideas and he was creative, so I wish we could get some of those guys to open up on the innovation that they might have dabbled in back then. But I feel like reputationally in the monster truck business, there is a statute of limitations that's very much still in place with some of those guys. They probably don't want to talk about that stuff much.
Well, and the cool thing about all of Fred's trucks is all those barefoot trucks. Like he just didn't change a little bit at a time. Like he built the barefoot racer that had the turf tires on it. Then the next one had the front hangers. And then he built that tube frame truck with the big, long coilover shocks. He didn't just take little steps. He jumped. Every truck he built, he made a big jump. Like, the belly dragger barefoot, that thing was amazing in the Penda series. Like every truck he built, and towards the end, he had two that were identical. I think they were identical, but one had Karks and one had ZFs, but they were about the same truck. But other than that, all his trucks were different. Every time he built, it seemed like he was building a truck almost every year, every 2 years, and they were all just they were different. Like the belly dragger one is the one that stood out to me, because I saw that thing at the Pontiac Silverdome, and I looked at it, the engine is like eye level, like sitting in the cradle. Yeah. I'm like, this is insane. But that's the time too. Like we all know that none of the trucks were the same. There's no cookie cutters. There were no, mass production chassis. I mean, the only trucks that were all basically kind of the same were like, 8, 9, and then 10, and that kind of stuff. And then all the Patrick stuff didn't start until a little bit after that. So everybody had their own ideas. But man, Fred Schaefer really took big leaps when he built his trucks.
The belly dragger truck, I was just watching some clips of it in the Silverdome from like 93 or 94 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that thing was it was so hard. It's hard to explain. Like, it's almost like it was sucking up the jumps on or the landings rather so much that it was almost like it was like catching itself on the ground, and almost like it was losing a little momentum. I don't know. I'm probably way off, but it was absorbing without a ton of, rebound so well.
I can't
imagine trucks. How weird would that have to be to drive, where you're just kind of like leaning forward every time you land,
and you're waiting for it to do something and it doesn't. And it's almost like those trucks worked too good, if that makes any sense. It's like the belly dragger worked too good, and his coilover truck, the first one, like, that he ran in one of those early Penda shows where USA One was still involved, and the thing was super tall, but it looks like it landed beautifully, and it's like it's almost like the trucks worked too good.
That's the way it was heading. If Penda went on too much longer, it would almost have been not unwatchable by any means, but it would have not been like monster trucks. The tires would have been in contact the entire way until the last jump, and it would have been something that was more like drag racing than monster trucks, I think, if it kept going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the need to crush cars and do freestyle in the indoor shows, especially, or like I mean, Penda was only a small slice of a really busy team's schedule over the course of a year, right? So, like, if you built this thing with a giant, front four link assembly on it to just hoover up a track, in a Penda event, you're going to be smashing that stuff into the broadside of the cars and everything, or steep enough dirt jumps when you go do these other gigs. So I'm sure it was not without, give and take at the other events and stuff. But to Matt's point, let's just say, for instance, if Penda had achieved like NHRA level popularity and the TV was there and the money was there and stuff, I mean, you just seen Bigfoot reaching back in the bag for like, well, maybe we can build a front four link truck again, and then like you said, Matt, it probably wouldn't sustain itself, because then the action of the trucks flying in the air would have probably fallen by the wayside, because these guys would have just been looked like the snout of two vacuum cleaners just running down the track, not leaving the ground at all.
Yeah, I mean, it still would have been entertaining. Don't get me wrong, but it would have not been like what we perceive as like straight line drag racing. And another point I was thinking of, Bigfoot 21 to me almost feels like that. It like works too good, and you have to be a real driver to make it do anything cool. Like Runte and Larry Swim would make that truck do cool stuff, but in the big outdoor tracks where they would like get some huge air and then try to go for a slap wheelie, it's not happening. That thing just would soak up the jumps way too good. And at a certain point, and Frank Scattini's truck, I felt a lot of the later trucks that he had, it almost was not as entertaining to watch because they worked too good.
But we ran into that too.
It is such a thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Frank. No,
we ran into that too with the when the first Carroll truck came out, the first CRD truck that I got in 2009. It's like the thing worked so good, you actually had to really drive it. You had to like force it to do sky wheelies and force it to do slap wheelies. And because the old Patrick trucks with the shock straight up and down, the motor a little higher, they were a little shorter. They could do slap wheelies off a parking curb, right? But those new CRDs, when everything was the cradles a little longer, shocks were leaned out and pitched out and forward, and everything was lower, had the shorter transfer case. Man, you had to really, at first it was like, I'll just try to drive this like a regular truck, but it wouldn't do, just like what you're saying, Matt, it wouldn't do the things that another truck would do with the 20-inch shocks in the front, the 26s in the back. It wouldn't, the Carroll truck wouldn't do it because it had, 26s and 30s and it just landed like a sponge all the time. And it was so, the balance was so good. It was like, it was perfect for what it was meant for, but you had to really force it to get that extra stuff out of it.
Look at that cat out in the Pacific Northwest with a four-wheel independent truck that looks, like a Traxxas product, overgrown. It's got, El Taco Loco or something for a body on it now. But I don't know anything about the dude. I hardly know anything about the truck, but it looks like it's running as well as it's ever ran right now. It also looks like it could be a cast iron bitch to tire up and down, maybe. So that thing looks like it just soaks it up when it's working right, man. He's out there, getting around really well with it, and you're just waiting for some kind of a rebound on the landing, and it just soaks it right up. And that is really cool as like a one-off thing like that. I don't know if all the trucks started running around like that, if it'd be very exciting or not. I mean, I guess there comes a point where it's, a little bit of the caveman mentality with the truck design still helps the trucks put on a little bit better of a show. But I don't know, man. That's, and that's somebody like that guy thinking up that four-wheel independent truck. I mean, that's the kind of shit that if Fred Schaefer could have been around for 40 years in the sport, he could have been thinking up stuff like that eventually too. I mean, he was certainly an innovator, but in any event, circling back to Rosemont, that's, great point you make. Thankfully in our Eric Stern episode, Eric was able to share a couple cool photos he took, as a young teenager at Rosemont. That one with Lone Ranger racing in there against Barely Tame was really, really cool. So we thank Eric for sharing that. Eric told me offline, he actually somewhere he has a photo he took in 1990 at Rosemont of that starter, being kind of mowed down by Taurus. And it's, and we wouldn't ask him to share it either. I think it's something that's, probably better just kept in the photo album, but he was there, for that show, and he remembered a lot of the intensity of, that show in particular where the title was being decided and all that. And just the electricity in the atmosphere of that building when shows were happening in there. And as Matt and I talked about in that episode, Rosemont might be the location where the 9-weekend show was invented, I think, right? 3 each day.
Yeah.
Or at least it felt that way for you guys, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and also too, what a lot of people don't know, and Matt, I'm sure you know, Kyle, you may know, that was for a long time, Pace, SRO, Clear Channel, Live Nation, Feld the motorsports was based in Aurora, which was like 30 minutes away from that building. So that was for them. You had everybody and their uncle was at Rosemont, so that show took on a lot of weight and a lot of pressure. So if you were there running a sponsor truck or running anything, you had to have it together because everybody in the company was coming. We're talking people in accounting, the lady that deals with the coffee machine in the cafeteria. Everybody came to Rosemont. So when you were in the back in the office on Monday or Tuesday, whatever you did, everybody in there knew about it. So it was Rosemont had just a little extra heat to it.
Yeah, and the Sunday evening show, everyone would be there because everyone's back in town from wherever they were that weekend, and everyone was coming to the Sunday evening show. The 5th show of the weekend, everyone's tired, machines are worn out, but here goes your 5 bosses above you that are here to watch you do everything.
Yeah, and Kyle, I don't know how many times you've been there, or Liquor, I don't know how many times you've been there, but before they had the tent outside where you would go up and out and park in that tent, you had to back down that tunnel. You'd go out of the arena, and then you'd pull forward. You go outside, turn around, and you go back down that tunnel. And sometimes they'd have 8-10 trucks there, and if you were the truck all the way in the back, you had to back that thing all the way down that tunnel. And you want to talk about a fume and exhaust nightmare? That was next level. And luckily now you park outside and it's not that bad. You just got to deal with the 5-degree temperatures, but it's better than dealing with backing down a tunnel full of exhaust. But man, like I said, there's so many memories of that place, and God, the people and drivers that have passed through those doors in that building. You just got to think about it over the years. All the eras of people that have ran there, and that building hasn't changed much at all during that entire time. So, I mean, my first time there was like in '98 with Kohler, and I came back like 10 years later driving Donkey Kong or Hot Wheels, and building was the same. You walk in, had that same smell, same feel. The dirt was the same, almost like coffee grounds. The place is just that's right up there to me, right up there with like Freedom Hall as far as history of monster trucks goes.
Yes.
That's it's crazy to think about that. Like in 1984, let's say, Bigfoot 3's doing a car crush in there as a brand new truck, just going nose to tail on 4 crush cars, maybe popping them from the side once. And then, 6 years later, we've got Max D version 0.1, right? Taurus racing in there, and Fred's barefoot truck and Bigfoot 4. Like, it only, 6 years. Yeah. You can measure it different ways, but like right now in monster trucks, 6 years, take COVID out of it, doesn't seem like a really long time ago. No. But the technological and the entertainment leap that the trucks took from 84 to 90, that's pretty massive right there. That is a gargantuan change in what was happening in that building. Thankfully we had Brett Kepner documenting so much of it for us. The incredible Brett Kepner. But so pivoting to and you know what, honestly, we didn't try and start the season off with a couple episodes both centered around different things that happened in 1990, but kind of such was the way it played out. And so we did get into an episode talking about the 1990 TNT season and Bigfoot 8's impact on that, the ban on Bigfoot 8 that lasted a few months. And, Matt and I broke it down by points coming in and out of all these different events. We were able to actually dig up never before seen footage from the non-televised Hagerstown event, even, which shout out to the Breen brothers and Micro Machines. That was a hell of a pass that sucker was making down through there against, I think it was against Bigfoot 8 or maybe Carolina Crusher in those clips. But anyhow, Frank, we went way down the wormhole and we were trying to rationalize and see if we could justify, if TNT's ban on Bigfoot 8 was really necessary or not. And with all the blessings of hindsight and not having to be the ones dealing with the shit in the moment, Looker and I sagely decided the ban on Bigfoot 8 really wasn't necessary. But I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. I know you're pretty well versed in that era of monster truck history as a fan, and certainly you've spent time with guys like Scott Stevens that were at the very nucleus of the opposition to Bigfoot back then, Gary Porter as well. So, would love some insight and some thoughts from you on that as well.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't think it was necessary. I understand why they did it, because I mean, at that time, it was a massive leap. Like, you go from Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher of that time period to the Bigfoot 8. You put them next to each other, you're like, oh my goodness. But looking back, it's like, they could have. I mean, and I think the big part of it is they took basically the year before off and didn't run full time to build that thing and get it right. I think that's what kind of pissed everybody off. The fact that they had enough trucks, they could have ran the TNT tour that year before. And again, I think they could have, but I don't work there. I don't know, but I don't know. I agree with you guys. I don't think it was really necessary, but it did create a lot of hype and a lot of, for back then, without social media and without, anything like that, you had to watch every night or every week to see what was going on with it, because you had no other way of knowing about it. So I think it served its purpose, but I don't think it was necessary. I think the shows that they ran, the Bigfoot 8 had its problems. I mean, it was fast and dominant, but every now and again, if that thing came off the first set crooked or not straight at all, or not completely straight, it was darting left or right, and guys were beating them. Buffalo Tremor was beating them. King Crunch, Nightlife, guys that were in heavier, little generationally behind trucks, they were beating them. But still, I mean, when the thing was running perfect, when it was going, it was on rails. So, and of course, I've spent a lot of time with Eric Meager, and he explained to me about how integral Andy Brass was in that truck. That truck was an extension of Andy. Like, Dan Patrick built it, the Bigfoot shop built it, but Andy was a part of that truck. So a lot goes to him as far as that thing. And then, when I think of Bigfoot 8 as a kid, I think Andy Brass. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, 100%.
Excuse me, totally. Yeah, totally. And, Matt and I dug into 1989. I mean, we were back in even touching topics in 1988, but we went back in the schedule archives that we can put together and, excuse me again, looking at 1989. So Andy still ran it was 13 or 15 TNT points paying events. Even still in 1989, which is a decent amount. I mean, I imagine he probably had to run 25 or a little more to, be a championship contender perhaps in that environment. But, still running a lot of those, and a big chunk of that, I'd say damn near half, was actually that whole New York, New England mini tour, which was the most grueling part of any monster truck, touring schedule of that period of time. And so, TNT still featured Bigfoot at some of their big stadium shows. Andy was still on the American Sports Cavalcade broadcast from the Astrodome. Bigfoot helped carry, the reliability of the shows through that New York mini tour. So when we have the advantage again of hindsight and we look at, 7 got pulled out of the rotation for several weeks to be in the Tango and Cash movie, which it ended up not even having a proper bit part in, which after Roadhouse, I'd have to say Tango and Cash is the most disappointing follow-up film in Hollywood history for any notable, renowned, talented actor such as Bigfoot 7. And then number 8 was, of course, pulled out of its development to film and play a little more prominent role in that movie. So, really one active truck plus their big project at the time both got pulled out of circulation for a number of weeks. You've got Bigfoot 2, where did we determine that went? Looker, forgive me. Was it in Australia, I think, for the first time, possibly in 89?
I think that was,
I swear it might have went international.
Yeah. It's at Australia.
It might have gone international. Yep. And then, of course, you've got, the Bigfoot family reunion happens in September at the Indy Jamboree. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff still going on in 89. And to your point, Frank, I don't think you're wrong. I think they could have given ground in other places if they'd have really been, bound and determined to run 4 in all of the points races necessary to get some kind of a championship finish. But on the same token, I mean, most of the trucks that would have been beating Bigfoot 4, and I think it's probably safe to say they would have, what do you see as like a top 3 in points in TNT by the end of 1989? I mean, my thought is some kind of mix of Equalizer, Carolina Crusher, and USA 1, with Bigfoot 4 probably rolling in 4th or 5th place. So my thought is, well, if you already know it's kind of a wash this season and we really need that little dude in the seat there to, help us make this new thing work really right the next year. I guess it all kind of made sense to me, from that standpoint. But I'm curious, you've spent some time with Scott Stevens over the years, both as a young man and certainly even recently, because I know you guys have laid over at their shop and stuff. And we want to have Scott on to tell his side of all of his monster truck story, not just the TNT thing. But has he ever shared anything with you that you found kind of interesting as far as, does he look back at that time and think, yeah, it probably wasn't worth all the headache, or was it worth being fired up at that time?
I think back then, I think now from what he's talked to me about, it's now looking back at it, wasn't a big deal, but now when they were in the midst of it, all those, I mean, that was serious business. That was ESPN, that was TV. These guys had, like Scott had sponsors, Auto Value. A lot of guys had backers, and that was a big deal to them to run good on the TV show. And because other than, the U.S. Hot Rod stuff was on TV, but to me, when I was a kid watching in 89, 90, but when they switched over to U.S. Hot Rod once TNT was dissolved, but TNT was like the most legit like racing there was. And then of course Penda came in there, but after the demise of TNT and all that stuff, but it just I think at the time, I think Bigfoot was trying to look at the big picture of what they were doing, because they knew they were developing a generational kind of truck. It wasn't just going to be the next new one. This was going to be what was going to carry the sport into the next, decade, 2 decades, and the next generation. So I really think that's kind of why they did what they did. But Scott, to me, doesn't seem like he's too bent out of shape. But I know back then, though, he was, because of the sponsorship and all the importance of running well on TV. But man, like I said, when you really look back at it, I don't think it was necessary, but I think Bigfoot did what they did because, just like it seems like they always do, they knew what they were doing and they knew what they had in their basket. They knew. So it's like, we better do this right, not screw it up or not hurry it up and get it out there. So I think they did the right thing, to be honest.
Well, and Matt, you and I talked about how, Taurus 3, the first tube chassis Taurus truck, had been out since April or May of 1989. So the industry had, 6-7 months look at kind of where things were inevitably going to start heading. And that truck was obviously, and it was not designed on a computer. It wasn't fabricated, in the fanciest monster truck shop on the planet at the time. And just built by some guys with some common sense, a basic understanding of geometry, and a willingness to try some different things. And Taurus flatly kicked Bigfoot 8's ass plenty of times, over the career of those trucks racing each other. But certainly, I would say in the first 9 to 12 months of those two trucks being able to do battle against each other, it seems like 8 out of 10 times Taurus, put a licking on Bigfoot 8. And it's because Taurus was simple, and obviously that simple design has proven itself over generations of other monster truck designs, competition changes. I mean, the evolution of what a monster truck is expected to do performance-wise could almost not be any more different now than what it was in 1989, and yet the basic architecture of that design makes so much sense that, Mentz and his guys were running it up until just a couple years ago, with a high degree of success. Evolved, yes, I'll give you that, but really the architecture was very much still there. I think about, Equalizer was pretty advanced compared to its competition in 1989. I do hear the word crude thrown around a little bit talking about that particular iteration of Equalizer, and I think that's probably fair to say, but it obviously worked really well too. So one other thing that Matt and I were trying to get at in that episode was some of the sparkle placed on Bigfoot, while accurate about its performance and its notoriety and notability. Some other guys had definitely done some pretty serious homework before the Bigfoot guys got their truck out on track as well. So, we really wanted to make sure we paid a little respect to, especially the Willmans. I mean, that Taurus truck is just so iconic on so many different levels. In your early days at the Silverdome, Frank, surely you got to see some of those early Taurus trucks run, right?
Yeah. And before, when you're younger, you don't really know what a nasty monster truck is. Like now it's like, oh, that thing's nasty. Like Cody Saucier says all the time, that thing's nasty. But even then, when I was a kid and Taurus, just even barefoot, they just sounded different. There was something just nasty about the Taurus and the barefoot trucks. And they always ran really strong, especially when the race truck stuff started, like when the honeycomb version of Taurus, and then even Scott Hess's barefoot. I'm sure we could actually do a whole show on Scott Hess's barefoot and his run as a barefoot truck, because that thing was ridiculous. The way the motors he had in those things, I've heard from Charlie Pauken and some other guys, just the motors he would have in his trucks were just insane, way overpowered for what the drivetrain was and what the suspension was. But no, Taurus just had a different sound to it. I think it was the straight up zoomies and the just the way it just had a different. There was something different about it compared to the other trucks. The other trucks seemed a little lazy and a little sluggish, but man, that thing, from the first time I saw it, I'm like, that thing is nasty. And then I know we're jumping subjects, but this is a good one. I don't know. I might be one of the only real, like, I really liked the Monster Wars Taurus paint scheme. I just thought it was cool. I'll leave it at that. But no, Taurus was nasty from day one.
Oh, that's one of the OG nasties right there.
Yes.
Matt's shaking his head yes, because he knows where I'm headed here, man. So how do I want to roll through this segue? So first off, let's acknowledge that we have the Battle of the Coolest Monster Trucks bracket happening on the OSMT Instagram page right now. If you're not familiar with that, you need to get over to our Instagram account at OSMT_1975 and check out the ongoing Battle of the Coolest Monster Trucks. So in a quick nutshell, what Frank, myself, Matt Iceman, Cody Saucier, our research team of Chris Mermanis, Justin Mosinger, Matt Stoltz, the 8 of us submitted basically the required number of trucks to form a 64 truck bracket of what each of us thought, given a certain number of trucks per person, right? We couldn't all just take only my selections or only Matt's or whatever, but we battled and we bickered and we fought and we discussed and we came up with, what we kind of thought were maybe the 64, in our opinion, coolest monster trucks that deserved a spot on that bracket. We then broke them out into 4 different seeding buckets, let's say divisions, almost like an NCAA bracket. And then we seeded bucket 1 against bucket 3, bucket 2 against bucket 4 to try and bring some sort of, randomness, but also some parity or some chance into this. I'm sure it's not perfect, but it's what we came up with. And so anyhow, we've made it through the round of 64. We're into the round of 32 now. But there was not a lot of what I would call upsets in the first round, but one of them was the Black Monster Wars Taurus that Frank was talking about. And yeah, I mean, the sound of that truck alone should almost be a guaranteed pass to the semifinals of the coolest monster truck, I think. But to your point, Matt and I were discussing that recently too. Until Taurus kind of changed things up in the mid, what would you say, 95, 96 era, where they added some more like flame graphics and stuff on the side. And I think the truck ended up looking more like a bottle of, grocery store barbecue sauce than it did a proper Taurus paint job. But that black 93 era Monster Wars, Frank, you were so cool. Spot on, man. Dangerous looking.
It was. It was all business. It was all business.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, equalizer, I'm going to draw 2 barrels down on you, or whatever kind of nonsense the fucking mascot was saying. I mean, the truck lived up to the billing well more than the, exotic dancer turned cowboy mascot that they threw out there for all those trucks. But so what that kind of then brings me to is another thing that Looker and I have discussed recently is given the popularity you guys have led us to believe the 64 truck bracket is, creating amongst the fans and everything like that. I mean, we have hundreds of thousands of new impressions literally on the Instagram page over the last couple of weeks. I can see this being a future thing where we maybe not 64 trucks. That's a pretty big one, but I wouldn't mind getting down on like an 8 truck nastiest monster truck ever bracket. Yes. And that's where I gotta put, you gotta put Hess in there. One of the Taurus trucks, a barefoot truck, but we were talking about some of the, I was just going to say, you talk about who could have saved us from Bigfoot 8 in 1990. Where was Rambo? I needed Rambo all season long because if they could have kept that thing together or got it put back together as much as they would have wrecked it, I still think that truck could have been a menace at times to Bigfoot 8.
Dude, that thing would beat
It's
USA
kind of funny.
1
Go
on
ahead,
a long
Matt.
track. I'd seen Rambo beat USA 1 in a long track. Like that truck was no joke in an arena or on a long outdoor track. That's all I was gonna say.
I think Rambo right now, or if you took that Rambo that you're talking about, the one that ran Louisville but was bouncing all over the place, you put that in a Monster Jam arena on an arena floor with their pod and everything. You know how sweet that would be to watch that thing hit the triple log, or just downside the middle of the pod. It would just be so sweet to see it just do a sky wheelie. That would, and the old Excalibur too, the prime Excalibur with had the bullet going down the side. That one would be outstanding on one of these those arena pods. And shoot, even in a Hot Wheels track, you imagine just firing Rambo out there and say, okay, go ahead, just like in the old days of the Thunder Nationals, it'd be the same way, man. But dude, Rambo's nasty, and like you said, though, that Taurus truck just had a sound. I remember I'd be at the Pontiac Silverdome, and you could just hear the echo when they tap the throttle. You'd hear the echo in the roof, and it's like, man, that's Barefoot and Taurus were the only ones that had that.
No, they just had a unique a lope to them, and you could hear them fire up like at Arrowhead in Kansas City. You'd hear them outside the stadium, hurrah, hurrah. Hurrah! And then you're like, oh, they're firing up. Here they come. And the Bigfoot trucks are all idling really smooth, just whoa.
Yeah, they all had mufflers too back then. A lot of the Bigfoot trucks had mufflers or, really nice collector exhaust, so they were quiet,
Yep, but then you've got these big nasty rat motors, and you hear them coming down the tunnel, and you're just like, as a kid who's a Bigfoot fan, you're just like, shit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I hope they both break wheels off before the finals.
Yeah,
that was one of your best hopes as a.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but it's before, the days before social media and all that, when guys didn't know what other trucks were going to be at events. Like, I'd be somewhere. I disappeared for a minute. Can you guys hear me?
There goes.
It's okay. We're having things cutting in and out on us.
Okay, no, because what I thought was cool back in those days before social media and all that is when even guys at the event didn't know what trucks were going to be there. They'd see the Bigfoot hauler roll in, but they didn't know which Bigfoot was in there. They didn't know if it was 4, 6, or 8. And then they unload 8, and you're like, oh God, number 8's here. Gee, well, good luck. That was cool back then because guys didn't know who was going to be there. They knew certain trucks were going to be there, but they didn't know which ones. And that era was just really cool because nobody knew anything.
You're so correct. I mean, imagine the show I saw at Kemper Arena in Kansas City in '92. You're unloading and you see a Bigfoot hauler pull in, and you see Jim Kramer's driving, and you're starting to shit your pants a little bit, and then you see him back Bigfoot 3.
Got it.
And you're like, whoo.
There was a lot of those shows too, right in the race truck era, the tube chassis era. I still don't understand why they sent number 6 to New Orleans that year for, I think it was 91 or 92, to take on Taurus, King Crunch. I'm like, wow, there must have been a scheduling mistake, or they ran out of trucks, or something happened, because the fact, nothing against Lurch and number 6, but number 6 was not ready. Its time had passed for that kind of a show. And I think you guys know what show I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Matt Stoltz and I
91.
Oh yeah, Matt Stoltz and I dug into that at one point, and we were trying to figure that out as well. And yeah, I like all the other the high-powered equipment was visiting other places, and that's pretty much what they were down to. And I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, because you felt bad
because
we all knew what 6 was and what it had done, and then but to see it in that
poor Ronnie out there
in that situation with tourists just out there making it look super easy and clearing the cars, and even the King Crunch truck, Rob Grossman driving King Crunch, making it look easy compared to what Bigfoot 6 was trying to do. It just felt bad because it was like watching a baseball player that is just past the prime. You know what, he used to hit 40, 50 home runs, but now he's out there just trying to get on base, and it's like, man, I just hated watching 6 out there like that because I knew that's not what it was. 100%.
It's like watching Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
No.
There's a degree of that, yeah, and that's no dig on Lurch. It was just a big, heavy, slow Bigfoot truck at that point.
Nothing. I mean, it wasn't his fault or the truck's fault. It just wasn't.
I mean, what
like
else?
I said, they must have thought New Orleans wasn't a stadium or something. Like, oh, we'll just send 6, I'd be fine. And then all of a sudden, like, oh shit, oh.
Imagine being a kid and catching Bigfoot 8 at a show in 1990, like let's say over in Houston, and then your family's vacationing 2 years later in New Orleans. Hey son, the monster trucks are over at the football stadium. Let's go see if that new Bigfoot truck he likes. Though that's not it.
Is this the display truck?
That is
There's
not
no
it.
stripes on this one.
There is a Sasquatch driving the Bigfoot truck, but that is not the correct Bigfoot truck, son. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Is that the display truck? Where's the race truck?
Yeah. Army Armstrong was always talking about how, you see the red and yellow stripes on the side of the truck. Scott Douglas, that means that is the racing Bigfoot. And he could have called that one in reverse. What you all are seeing right now without the red and yellow stripes, what you're seeing, that is just a pickup truck on a very large frame with big tires, and it is way too slow. Oh, man. Well, listen, boys.
I was going to say real quick,
go ahead,
another one, and absolutely nothing against the guy because he's a great dude. Rest in peace, is Les Anderson in an old leaf sprung Gravedigger when you thought you might be getting Dennis in Digger 3,
Yeah. I think the likelihood of a wild show from a leaf spring digger is much higher than oh boy, that 8-foot tall gentleman's going to go out and rip it up in Bigfoot 6 tonight. No. There's only 2 great dangers in the Louisiana Superdome that night. It's 6 getting tripped up and going end over end because of that, car stacked the way the gaps were. I worried for Lurch on that. And then the 24 pack of Budweiser back at his hotel room was in severe danger, I'm sure, that night as well, too, because I would have needed a few to come down off of, going into a show carrying the Bigfoot name, and that's what you got sent in there with in that situation. That's
when you're getting wore out the second round by bad medicine,
whipping up on a Bigfoot truck.
Yeah,
no offense to Mark.
A rough night.
That's a rough night. Yeah, where's sarcastic Army Armstrong calling that race?
One of the most, I think we've talked about it before, one of the most passive aggressive and most delusional interviews ever in a monster truck show, and I know you guys will know exactly what this is when Steve Wilkie is talking to Everett Jasmer in Memphis, and Bigfoot 8 literally beats him by 75 yards. And Wilkie's like, well, yeah, I was right with him, man. I didn't even see him about right here. And Gary Lee goes, I don't know what Steve Wilkie was looking at, but that's not quite the even Gary Lee, like, he couldn't. It was so obvious he had to say something because Steve Wilkie, seriously, God rest his soul, was living in fantasy land that he was close to beating Bigfoot 8. Let's be honest.
Just watch this one. Steve Wilkie in the white USA 1, the blue Bigfoot. Oh, Andy Brass gets the hole shot. Boy, Brass drilled him on the starting line. Wilkie trying to pull back. Wilkie was never in this event. Once that Christmas tree went green, Brass was gone. Oh, Gary, you're exactly right. When that light turned green, that big blue Ford ran to right after the USA 1 Chevrolet. Everett Jasper under the truck trying to figure it out. I think what happened here was Steve Wilkie just flat made Andy Brass mad, told him he's going to beat him off the start line, and Brass no way was going to concede to that. Yeah, Wilkie may have some explaining to do. Let's eavesdrop on the conversation with owner and driver.
I feel bad. But again, I didn't see him. I didn't see him until he was here. Yeah. So I must have been right with him,
Well, obviously, Steve didn't see the same race that we saw because he was not right with him. Bigfoot takes the victory, and here is your winner, Andy Brass.
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to save some kind of face that's not his fault that he's in that situation necessarily, but trying to get Everett to wake his thinking up a little bit to like, hey, you know,
Man,
we probably
yeah.
need to do something different than this lumber hauler that I've got out here trying to race against these guys. I don't close only counts and horseshoes.
It's like in Major League, Bob Uecker says he'll need a rocket up his ass to catch that one.
Yeah.
USA 1 needed a rocket up its ass to catch Bigfoot 8. But no, I think that might have been the last time we saw that USA 1 on TV or competing. And that was like it.
Gosh, you're probably right. Yeah. No, you're probably right, man. And I think about, I wanted to mention when we were talking about Rambo, I think about USA 1 was like the shiny, spit polished, public friendly Captain America monster truck. Rambo was the dirty bastard that lived up to the name on the side of the truck. Like, you know, some children need saved in El Salvador. Send USA 1. Meanwhile, some terrorists need assassinated in Nigeria. Send in Rambo. Like, Rambo's there for all the dirty work. Like USA 1 gets all the glitz and glamour and the positive coverage on the TV news, and meanwhile Rambo's just got a trail of destruction left in its wake with nothing to show for it. I remember joking with a buddy that stopped at the Bigfoot shop one time, and I was like, here, let me unlock Bigfoot 1. I'll let you check it out. And he's like, you have a key to Bigfoot 1? Not only that, and then I pointed over at the shittiest old Ford semi we had, and I was like, I got a key for that too. Same. All right, boys. Well, we'll start wrapping it up here on this Monday night. But Frank, I cannot express how good it was to have you back on with us finally. I know all our fans out there watching definitely missed you. The credibility and authenticity and humor that you bring to us far exceeds anything that Matt and I can put together by rubbing our 4 brain cells and hoping for a spark at the end of it. So we're certainly glad to have you back on this episode, and you know, not sure what your schedule will look like later this month, but we've got a special guest joining us here later in November that we're excited to have on, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for that one as well too. But we certainly wish you all the very best out there wrapping up the Hot Wheels tour here through the
well, this weekend we'll be in St. Charles, Missouri for 3 shows, 2 Saturday, 1 Sunday. And the cool thing about that, it's really close to Bigfoot, so I'll probably go there and spend roughly $300 to $400 in merch. I'm not going to walk in there and be like, okay, I need one of those, 1 of these, 2 of these, 3 of these, 4 of those, just like Rodney Dangerfield and Caddyshack. Yeah, I mean, just like that. And then we head to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Hey, how much you want for that engine with the 3 carburetors on it? That one over there. Yeah, but no, it'll be neat to be around the Bigfoot guys and hopefully see a couple of my heroes. I'm sure Jim Kramer, Bob Chandler won't be too far away if we're going to be in St. Charles with the Bigfoot boys. So that'll be good. And I heard they're going to be bringing out some other Bigfoot trucks there for display. You know, like I think one, and I don't know what other ones, but either way, just to be in the same vicinity as anything like that is awesome for me. And then we head to Lincoln, Nebraska, and then have a couple weeks off, and then Rosenberg, Texas. Our good buddies over there at Texas Truck Works, we'll hang out with them, and they're not too far from there, so we'll get to see Scott and all the guys there. That'll be great, and finish her up, and then not much of a turnaround, man. We got December 14th weekend is Rosenberg, and then we start January 2nd. So it's not much of a turnaround. We'll get the rig back there, change the oil, tear the corners down, stick them back on, let it ride, man. Just keep going again. But hey, at this point in my life, you know, I know we joke around a lot about it, and I joke around a lot about it too, but if I didn't love monster trucks, I wouldn't be doing this still. You know, there's other avenues I could have gone down, but man, that knot in your gut, and Kyle, you know, from driving, and Matt, you know, from being in the live event side, when I always tell myself when that knot in my gut goes away, that's when it's time to get out. So I'm going to keep on going until that knot in the gut goes away.
Well, I tell you what, it's a good thing we all abandoned our other alternative childhood careers of exotic dancing or piloting spaceships, because none of us were built for that. Matt, I want to thank you again for joining us as well this evening. Appreciate all the help and support you've given me, through this journey with BDC this year, and especially in the second season, helping me hold this down while Frank's been busy. And we're going to record another Needle and Groove episode with the Iceman coming up pretty soon for a future episode. But we've been through some long episodes. We've had our hands full with, we continue as my screen keeps yelling at me, tech issues. It is what it is. We're trying everything we can short of buying each other brand new computers for Christmas, which don't any of y'all put that on your Christmas wish list. I got 2 kids in this house that are wanting cell phones and computers and stuff too. But we appreciate all you fans out there sticking with us. And some episodes are longer than others, but you know what? There's a lot of other great monster truck podcast type shows out there, and they're good at that short format thing. But here, just like we told ourselves at the beginning, the gloves are off. If we want to take 2 hours to talk about something, that's what we're going to do. And that's just kind of how it goes when you're bench racing out in the shop with your buddies drinking beers, or if you happen to be tuned in to Bottom Dead Center here on the OSMT YouTube channel. So once again, for Matt Looker, for the illustrious,
just getting by, man, just getting by,
skilled wheelman of 49.
It's 39,
trucks, right?
and I got
still 39.
Man, I 40's got to come, and I don't
50 trucks. Which one is it?
We gotta figure.
I'm making this is probably going to jinx you, but I'm making a personal appeal to the monster truck gods to let you drive Bigfoot 1 into the arena.
All right, you don't get me
St. Chaz.
Okay, so don't get me all excited because it's just the thought of that. I'm already nervous, but we'll see what we can do. I'll talk to my buddies Kellen and Steinberg and Cody Smith over Bigfoot and see if they can put a good word in for me. I mean, we got 3 shows, so maybe I can weasel myself in there for just one of them.
Well, they've let you drive they've let some pretty dumb celebrities drive that truck over the years for TV.
I would hope so, right?
Surely they can let a good $400 paying merch customer take a quick spin in her, right? Awesome. Well, on behalf of Matt and Frank, I'm Kyle. Thank you guys as always for tuning in to Bottom Dead Center. And, on behalf of all of our team at OSMT and BDC, we thank you guys as well. Thanks for tuning in for our Casual Monday episode here on Bottom Dead Center on the OSMT YouTube. Be sure to check out our Instagram. Look for the Battle of the Coolest Monster Trucks bracket on there. Make sure you're voting. We'll wrap that up at the end of the month. And then on Friday, December 5th, when we have a planned BDC episode, we'll be talking about the winner and announcing the winner of that bracket then. And also thank you for the people supporting OSMT through our online merch store, OSMT Mart. That is at osmt.myspreadshop.com. Thank you guys for your support there as well, too. Seeing a lot of shirts and stuff and hoodies and everything rolling out the door. Hopefully getting a lot of people ready for an exciting first quarter of monster truck action after we get through the holidays. So once again, thanks from all of us, and we'll see you next time here on the Old School Monster Trucks YouTube channel. This has been Bottom Dead Center.